Okay,
along the lines of
well, I'll have to find out whether that's the case. If you have information that I am unaware of, then, you know, I don't know, I'll have to go and check it through.
But your sense, Martin, when you met him was that he was still positively disposed towards Messi?
I said exactly that. Exactly, no. I thought that it was, I've used the word hopeful. I've said that before, said it again, so that's exactly where I stand.
Does this come as a bit of a shock on us?
No, you standing out here with that there has become rather a shock, you know. And since you're not the best looking fella in the world, you know, so, you know, I'd rather look at Tony, to tell you the truth, you know.
Can I just ask when the last contact was with the family?
Listen, I think at the end of it all, I've been in there, I've gone through the...
No, it's just in the context of the story that's coming out.
I know, but you want another context, and then by the time I get to the bottom of the road, there might be a change of plan, you know, so... Young man, I think you should. You're in contact with your group. You should know.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it.
Did you not? No. You didn't know anything about it.
No, I didn't know anything.
Oh, remarkable! And you're running the show.
I can show you. I got an email at about 13 minutes to 12, I think. So 15 minutes after you finished the press conference.
What has been said then?
What has been said is that papers have been prepared, and that.
And where's this coming from? Is it coming from the FAI?
Well,
not from the FAI, but from the FA?
I don't know where it's coming from. Our reporter Rob Dorsey is the one who broke out.
You'll understand then, until you get the story, then I can't really comment on it. You know, all I can do is reiterate what I've said in the room for the last hour. You know, and what I said to you was exactly how I felt about it, and that's until Guy and his crew get it sorted out, then I have to say the same, you know?
Martin, I was even go and talk to Declan this afternoon or his family.
If Guy gets the story, you know, I should put the pressure onto this young man, you know, because it's his mob that are running it, you know. So at the end of the day, get the story out, get it correct. Okay.
Get it correct. You don't think it is correct then? As far as you're concerned, you don't think the story is correct?
I would be a bit surprised at this minute. I'd be surprised. Okay?
At this minute?
I'd be surprised. Nothing surprises me in this life, but I'd be a bit surprised at that particular story. Okay? All right? Happy enough with that?
It's a pleasure.
Not a problem.
The voice of Daniel McDonnell in that press conference. We're going to hear from Dan shortly on the whole Republic of Ireland, Declan Rice situation at the moment. If you just joined us on the stream, you're very welcome along. Tommy Martin sitting in for Nathan Murphy this afternoon. There has been a goal at Vicarage Road. Let's get to Nigel Bidmead for details of that.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 1, a classic counter-attacking goal. Watford had a free kick at the Bournemouth end. They broke away. It was King with the cross, Wilson with the shot. Great save from Foster, but David Brooks scored from close range. His second goal in 2 games. Watford 0, Bournemouth 1.
Let's get an update from Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace Wolves. Here's Mike Lawrence.
Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. The home side have enjoyed most of the early possession. Patrick Van Arnholt looking lively down the left. Striker Wilfred Zaha with a speculative shot from outside the box. It'll be interesting to see what part the conditions play here. The wind and rain swirling around Selhurst. The ball zipping along the wet pitch. It might be a day to keep it simple. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0.
And it's Burnley 0, Huddersfield 0, Palace 0, Wolves 0, as you just heard. Everton a goal up at the King Power Stadium against Leicester. Spurs 1, Cardiff 0. Richarlison scoring for Everton, by the way. Eric Dyer putting Tottenham 1 up at Wembley against Cardiff, and Bournemouth, as you heard a few moments ago, 1 up at Vicarage Road against Watford. Dan, it seems like everything around the Republic of Ireland, it's a bit like an episode of The Thick of It. I was going to say with slightly less swearing, but probably with more swearing. But it just seems to be statements coming out, weird media scrums happening, miscommunications.
Yeah,
it seems the word circus is often used about it, and this just seemed to be par for the course on Thursday.
Yeah, it's like you should do a grade from like saga to circus to debacle. Which one does it fall between? It does feel particularly unfortunate that there was a sort of concerted attempt, I think, in the summer from Martin O'Neill and co, and even like people in the FAI communications and so on, to try and smooth things, improve things, make things a bit slicker in terms of the autumn, and yet the attempt to do that has coincided with an absolute sort of a sequence of events that have created those sort of farcical scenarios you're talking about. I mean, the one on Thursday now, it's just personal opinion now, you end up almost feeling a bit bad about the scrum now, because I guess you take it on good faith that the Sky story was true, and they totally justified the huddle that happened afterwards, because, well, I mean, this previous hour that we've just done, this press conference we've just done, where Martin O'Neill was speaking reasonably well about his reasons why he was hopeful, not getting carried away, but outlined that there was some good stuff which ended up still running in the newspapers on Friday anyway about Rice's family and so on, which was relevant. But you think, well, this is all irrelevant now, because this Sky have run this story, which means maybe at 2 o'clock this afternoon there's going to be a statement coming from Rice here, and this is obsolete.
Rice at St George's Park with an England,
or something like that. Yeah, so you think this is going to be rendered completely obsolete. So that's why O'Neill is tackled, and yet, so within 6 hours of that Sky story, Sky have now almost amended their story to say, he's now believed to be favouring England, which was no different to what was out about Rice last week. So there's obviously games being played here. It sort of reminds me in a way, not as bad, but the time that O'Neill, I think, had to take questions about some rumour that Harry Arter was going to play for England, which was absolute and utter garbage. You know? But he ended up, I think, getting tackled about it because it just came out during a press conference and he had to answer it. I don't think he was too impressed by that either. And yeah, but the general point is that it's not helpful. I think there's two schools of thought with Rice, and the one that I think a lot of people empathise with and believe is that, you know, he needs time and space to make what is a very significant decision. But the flip side of that is that, I mean, be it through Rice liking tweets or social media activity, or I don't know how stories are getting out about his intentions, that it would lead you to believe that there's influences in his life, say, that are certainly, you could say, maybe getting stuff out there about his position. So that's not helping the situation. This has become a saga. If he's getting time and space to make the decision, then you would like to think that there wouldn't be a story every couple of weeks where he's going this way, and what does this Twitter activity mean, and what does this mean, and what does that mean? And you are sort of reaching the point now whereby, give him as long as it wants, has now been replaced by, we just need this decided soon. And
in fairness to the time and space thing, you have to say Martin O'Neill has been exemplary in terms of the way he's spoken about it. And in the press conference the other day, he didn't say he rejected, he denied the line, or he refuted the line that he'd rejected a call-up. He says that was never the case, that is still, process is still continuing. But I wonder, I mean, watching it from the sideline, it must be so frustrating for people like Martin O'Neill in the middle of it, for fans and for people trying to follow the story. It's a bit like the United thing where, a well-briefed journalist comes out with a story last night that Mourinho's getting the sack. Later on there's briefing that the board are fully behind him. Antonio Valencia likes a tweet saying the manager's, and then has to apologise for it. I mean, there's a little bit of the modern media and the way it is, and social media wrapped in all that as well. And it's just, this saga in particular, as Dan says, you just feel like, can we just get to a conclusion on it?
Yeah, and so much social media is absolute crap, that we really, we could do without. Our lives would be a lot better if we weren't on it. But kind of stuff like this, it is kind of intriguing, and you're wondering, if you're just there and you happen to follow Rice, or you happen to follow Valencia, and you see it's actually
that's a story in itself.
Absolutely, and you don't need somebody to
hashtag journalism 2018. What have we become?
We're reporting.
Could have just slipped, what I mean? Fat fingers, it happens.
Could have been his cat. But now we have
Tony and Lescott one where it was in his pocket.
Wrong,
But now you have stories of screen grabs, and that's where we're at. But it obviously was kind of compelling, and then he unliked the later on, and all of this is obviously.
What does this mean? Was this agent's advice?
A lot of the older people maybe listen to the show have no idea what I'm talking about, and my advice to them would be, stay where you are. You don't need this crap in your life. But anyway, for us, we're a little bit around this every day. It was fascinating, but obviously the argument is made that O'Neill could have put him in the Moldova squad a year ago now and sorted this out. But I think I don't agree with it now. I think he's been very fair on Rice, and I think Martin O'Neill has. We'd have a lot of issues with him, but I think his handling of the Rice situation has been pretty exemplary, and I'm very much on the side of, I was listening to Kevin Kilbane this morning, and obviously Kevin's views have been quite trenchant on this, and he was saying he shouldn't have taken those caps off somebody else, but that's kind of fair enough. But we can't undo what happened. And Rice, to my mind, is perfectly entitled to wait and make a decision. Now, we would like an answer, but I think he's going to make what, to me, is the right decision. And if I were him, I'd definitely play for England.
Well, I think we had Gary Breen on the other night, who I think he sort of expressed the view that Rice's dilemma does appear to be quite sincere. I think from his perspective, that I think he probably is genuinely torn, and he is genuinely torn because, I mean, there are people in his family who really want him to stay around. I don't think this is too cynical from his side. There's probably people in his corner, in his camp, that are probably thinking very cynically about it. And the most cynical event and version of views that I've heard is that this is all 100% to do with the contract, and that if he got a contract of a suitable value, he might end up back with Ireland. Right. You know, which is the other sort of extreme in terms of thinking how this is some kind of political game that's being played here. But yeah, it's. Yet he's gone so far down the road now that you see, like you talk about social media, he's getting loads of abuse from fans and stuff, so, which isn't. And
as you say, the story goes on. We'll come back in a moment to it. Goal at Turf Moor, though, in the game between Burnley and Huddersfield. Here's Adam Jury.
Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0. Sam Vokes has broken the deadlock with a wonderful header. It all came about from the cross of Johan Berg Gudmundsson on the right hand side. He whipped it in, and Sam Vokes is tallest above everybody else, and he headed it into the bottom right hand corner to give Burnley the lead. It's Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0.
Tottenham took an early lead over Cardiff at Wembley. Let's get an update from Andrew Cheal now.
Spurs 1, Cardiff 0. It remains Eric Dyer's goal early on, following up after Sissoko's header was blocked on the line. Lucas Moura's in lively form this afternoon. One driving run into the box, clever footwork set up Sanchez. The defender's shot was blocked well by keeper Etheridge. Moura's also had a shot on the turn, really good spin turn, but straight to the goalkeeper. Harry Arter's had a shot for Cardiff, but it was straight at Hugo Lloris in the Spurs goal. Spurs 1, Cardiff 0.
Let's take some of that from Gary Breen then. Earlier in the week, as Dan mentioned, he was on Off the Ball right around the time when all those rumours around Rice were circulating.
Well, in terms of Martin O'Neill coming out of his press conference and then throwing that type of a bomb where he obviously isn't privy to what's just been announced, I can understand his shock, really, because he's probably thinking, well, this is not in keeping with what I've been told. And obviously Sky now have retracted it a little bit in terms of the wording, but I think we just still need some clarity. I mean, Declan Rice, Jonathan Waters alluded to it there, young players now use social media. It's very easy to put out a statement from himself on social media as opposed to sitting in front of some reporters and being grilled that way. But it just seems that it's just drifting on too much now. We need an answer one way or another. Now, listen, I respect his thought process, that he needs time to deliberate over what is obviously a difficult decision, because I don't think it's as black and white as it necessarily seemed to be when it initially broke all those weeks ago, in terms of, well, listen, are you English or are you Irish? He obviously has an affiliation to both countries and he has to digest what's better for him. The only thing that frustrates me at the moment, I mean, a lot of people saying that, well, how well he's playing for West Ham makes it very difficult for us now. Well, that's a nonsense. Just because he's playing well doesn't mean that he can't come back to Ireland now. That really frustrates me, as if, like, well, he's playing so well now, why would he go to Ireland? So he'd only ever go to Ireland when he's playing poorly. And that really, really grates with me at times.
Yeah, you can see the frustration of people like Gary and Kevin about factors outside of wanting to play for your country coming into it. But these are genuine things. It's a complex situation around a player, not least with identity, but also contracts and how their career and the voices that are in their heads. Just on a basic level, though, with every camp that goes on and every press conference that goes on, and he hasn't decided it, does it make it harder for him to ever come back? Or if it takes a year, does he walk back in and everybody shakes hands and go, welcome back, Declan? Yeah, it's a fair point. And I was trying to think about this during the week. Like, if Declan Rice, and it's still the outside bet, but if Declan Rice, puts out a statement to say, I've decided actually I am going to continue my career with Ireland, what would the response be the next time he walked out on the pitch in the Aviva, if this ever happens? I think he'd get an amazing welcome. It's
what do you get from within the squad, I suppose?
I think, within the squad, people are pragmatic enough. I think footballers can be pragmatic enough when it comes down to it. And by all accounts, I mean, Seamus Coleman had an opportunity to speak last month, and There have been times in the past where I can think of Robbie Keane coming out as captain and speaking about players who maybe weren't turning up. It was a slightly different debate, but it wasn't a million miles away from this when there was a debate over players. And Robbie's view would be pretty unequivocal. You know, he'd be straight down like, well, we want people here who want to play for us. Coleman's approach was a bit more sort of nuanced in a way, and suggesting that I saw Declan Rice, behind the scenes in Turkey. I saw him with his dad. I saw him with his family. That was genuine. I believe that was genuine. I believe that was real. Whereas I guess the most cynical view of Rice is that he was there, you know, just living up to this act the whole time. And I think that Coleman's an influential figure. There seems to be that squad view. Naturally, James McLean was the one who came out and agreed with Kevin Kilbane at the time. Yeah. But then I don't know, did he get a bit of a word? But ONeill was at pains to point out then that McLean had subsequently contacted Rice to say, we want you here. I think it's probably like anything. It's not, you know, you have to say, what would the squad make of it? Like they're one sort of amorphous thing. Yeah. You've also got Roy Keane there, you know, and I'd imagine while Martin ONeill might be on the diplomatic side, maybe that Roy with his, you know, the famous power of his sharpness. Yeah, he probably might let it go. Well, and of course the one thing I would say, and sorry, John, to cut across you, but that we did talk about O'Neill's handling of being exemplary in terms of what he said. I would broadly agree with that, going back to even when almost, I think we were mocking him for saying there was still a question we might lose Rice, and O'Neill, in fairness, was right at that point to be cagey. But there was a suggestion the other day that O'Neill was also anxious to get it out there that this story that, you know, that the Roy Keane row with Harry Arter was a factor in Rice. They were very anxious to shoot that down, even to the degree that O'Neill sort of confirmed that Rice was privy or sort of present for the row between Keane and Arter, which hadn't really been confirmed by anyone before, much as that story was going round. But O'Neill was probably confident enough to speak about it now in the context that Rice and his father had both said to O'Neill, no, that's not the reason. You know, it genuinely is a dilemma. Yeah. So I guess there was a self-serving element to that aspect of the defence from O'Neill's perspective. But how would Roy Keane take it? Yeah, I think Roy Keane probably has a flippant comment in him at a point in time. Well, John Walters joined Keith and Joe on the Keith Andrews show on Thursday afternoon, and he addressed the recent, inverted commas, issues surrounding Roy Keane and the odd incident of apparent hostility within the Republic of Ireland camp of late.
As a team where we're at, I think there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of new blood coming in, even from years ago. Even players around the hotel that are not involved, and that's a hard position to be in. It's a lot, as you know, it's 25 plus man squad. So when the 11 that play and the ones that are not used to the same faces anyway, and it was a good group. So everyone, it was quite a tight knit group. Now there's a lot of new faces in, so that sometimes takes time to bed. That could be part of the issue. Whether you're losing a bit of experience, a bit of quality, and there's players now who are just finding the way in the Championship as well. Some very good players, but some just finding the way. In the next few years, hopefully they'll come more to the fore. And then the other issue, which was Stephen Warden's WhatsApp. What's he doing? I don't know. I think I feel for him because he's one of the nicest guys, Stephen, and he's obviously, his friends have asked him, he had a few stories obviously, and his friends have asked him probably what's happened, and he's probably said, that's too long to tell you, I'll put a voice note in. And I think one of his friends somehow, not stitched him up, but somehow got out, hasn't it? And it causes all sorts. Now, I'm not saying stuff like that doesn't go on at clubs, it's just sometimes it's a thing, as you know yourself, you don't see. And some people are different to others. I think everyone knows how Roy is as a player and how he's gone in after his playing days. So it's something that I know a part of anyway, but other people might not. So I can deal with it in my own way, and that's just part and parcel. And Martin's the manager, Roy's the assistant, and that's the way it is. You deal with what's there. I don't know how else I can.
Johnny, my issue, and I've been quite vocal with this, is, and I'm not privy to what goes on behind closed doors, but if it's a regular occurrence, people like you, I don't think it's a problem with, because you've been schooled in a way where you've served an apprenticeship, you've got broad shoulders in both senses of the world. But the younger generation, they're not used to that.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. It's changing.
Yeah.
They're not used to. It's a different world. It's a different world completely. It's a different world with social media and everyone patting you on the back, or can go the opposite way. And yeah, I know what you're going to say. It's different for the younger lads. Whoa, I've never come across this before. They've gone through 18s, 23s at the academy. But I think that in football's changing. I don't think you can. It's different to what it used to be like, and it's not so much like in the clubs the past few years at Stoke or in Burnley. It's not like that. It's not like that. There's no real. I think that's going out of the changing room as players managing themselves as well. I'm becoming a bit of. I don't know how to put it. Yeah, but they're not used to it.
Yeah.
They're not used to that. But should they be? Is a question. Probably you asking. I don't know.
Jonathan Walters there speaking on the Keith Andrews show on Thursday. A great one for people who like to read between the lines of what people say about Roy Keane and the Republic of Ireland camp at the moment. Get back to the lads on that. Just give you a few score updates at the moment. 5 games in the Premier League, 5 3 o'clock kickoffs underway, 10 minutes to go to half time in most of them. Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0, Sam Vokes in the score sheet there. Scoreless between Crystal Palace and Wolves. Palace 3 games scoreless coming into this one. Leicester 0, Everton 1, Richarlison early on scoring there. Jamie Vardy's just missed a great chance to level it though. Spurs 1, Cardiff 0. Eric Dyer got that goal. It's just at Watford 0, Bournemouth 2. Bournemouth have just scored a second goal there. Joshua King has got their second. That's a meeting of 6th and 7th coming into this. And that a win there would put Bournemouth up to 5th, I think I'd be right in saying there. So Bournemouth going really well. Lost their last away game 4-0 at Burnley. It doesn't look like that's happening today. Let's get details of that goal then from Nigel Bidbid.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 2, a double disaster for the home side. Josh King got away down the right-hand side. Christian Kabasele was after him, brought him down in the area. Referee John Moss pointed to the spot. It's the second yellow card for Kabasele. He's been sent off. Josh King buried the penalty. He waited for Ben Foster to make his move and then slid it down the middle. Third of the season for King. It's Watford 0, AFC Bournemouth 2.
Yeah, disastrous first half for Watford there. They're heading for a 4th game without a win after having won their first 4 of the season. Burnley led early on against Huddersfield at Turf Moor. Here's Adam Jury with the latest.
Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0. The 20th minute, Sam Vokes' goal has served to settle the Clarets down, and they look likely to score again. Vokes could have had a penalty when he appeared to be pulled down inside the box by Zanka, but nothing was given by the referee. Huddersfield are trying to work the ball forward and find a way back into this match, but they've lacked a killer instinct in the final third, which is probably why they've only scored 3 goals all season. At Turf Moor, it's Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0.
Yep, that's the story of Huddersfield's season, lacking a killer instinct. Tottenham, Cardiff now at Wembley. Here's Andrew Cheal with the latest there.
Tottenham 1, Cardiff 0 it remains. Cardiff enjoying a decent spell and a good chance as well. Josh Murphy put through into the box. Lloris and Rose seemed to hesitate just fractionally. Murphy chipped the keeper cleverly. It looked a goal all the way, but Eric Dyer somehow managed to get back and hoof it off the line. From the corner, Sol Bamba headed powerfully but over the bar. It's still Spurs 1, Cardiff 0.
Spurs 1, Cardiff 0 there, and Harry Arter starting for Cardiff. A quite depressing statistic you've just told me there, Dan, today.
Tough statting. But I mean, it's always an easy stat to identify because you can remember all the Irish players you need to look for if you think for hard enough. Yeah, the 3 o'clock games today, the only 2 Irish players involved, Matt Doherty and Harry Arter. And
it didn't take you long to count
both topical. Well, no, and you think, okay, well, that can fall with the fixtures, but I mean, Burnley and Everton are playing, so Seamus Coleman's injury is part of this sort of depressing stat. Robbie Brady's injury, de facto Hendrick has dropped to the bench, Ward's not involved, injured, and Kevin Long on the bench too, so it's not great for sort of a Saturday afternoon showing.
In fairness, from Thursday the return of Arter was a big positive, just in the sense that like the headlines about what happened with Roy and Harry Arter, and whether it was a nuclear explosion or not, clearly there might have been a little bit of even if Stephen Ward's WhatsApp blow by blow account is, I'm sure, absolutely 100% the way it all panned out, but clearly it wasn't anything too serious that it wasn't able to be ironed out with a simple phone call.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned about Rice coming back to the squad. I sort of wonder what the view would be towards Arthur. To be fair, I think with the Ward WhatsApp audio, it did seem quite sympathetic towards Arthur's position. But we did have that very interesting John Walters interview during the week, and he basically said no matter what happened, nothing would stop him from showing up. And you know, there still is an element that Arthur was missing for games at a time when Ireland were really short, and is now returned. But I always felt with the Arthur one that if he does get back in and he plays, he needs to do very well, because if he does play and does badly, you just know there's going to be comments from outside the camp, like just from punters or whatever, going, "Oh, I mean, he didn't even show up last night." I mean, you know, as much as unreasonable as Keane's attack was by the descriptions of it, I still think, you know, to be seen to turn down a call and then return a month later, I'm not sure if it's sort of worked out to be some kind of PR masterstroke from the Arthur perspective. I'd have my doubts about that.
Yeah, equaliser for Leicester there. I didn't quite catch the score, Johnny.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was a very good break. This has been the bits I've seen, it's been a smashing game of football, really end-to-end stuff. It looks like it's come from a Sigurdsson corner. Basically, they just broke, and I didn't catch the score either.
Sigurdsson corner, hoofed clear.
And
Leicester go up the other end.
I think John Joe Kenny maybe lost possession, replacing Coleman, I think.
Oh, it's a nice switch. Obviously 4-on-3 straight away.
Brilliant goal. Brilliant breakaway.
Bit of a killer for Everton, because they looked like they were the better side.
They were going very well. So that's 1-1 at the King Power Stadium there. I mean, what about Arthur then? I mean, there's this whole sort of revisionism of his Irish career so far, as in like a lot of not great stuff, but some games in which he played really well for us.
I don't think he's really done it, to be honest. I think it's funny enough the way Dan's explained it there. This mightn't work out to be the worst thing of all time. You know, if Arthur comes in with a point to prove, you were alluding to reading between the lines there with Walters and Keane. Like, there's nothing really wrong with not necessarily getting on with the assistant manager. I mean, there are players at every club who don't like the manager or assistant manager or both, and they get on with it, and you know, if they have respect for the managers, that's fine. I suppose my worry is just like what came out of that whole episode was like just Keane's belligerence, you know, and just where is he going with this, you know, and is this a regular thing where he's going to go off on one? And if Rice comes into the squad, does, you know, in a broader context, like what is Roy Keane's actual role in this Ireland setup?
Well, he popped up on Notts TV.
I saw it.
Timely, yeah.
Whatever. I mean, almost. It was like the slot he used to do on ITV on a Champions League week, and you know, generate headlines out of that. It's almost like he said, like, can I get on? I just to say.
That was a funny interview, because obviously we're on Facebook Live now, whatever, and you can see our faces. And radio is great, but like it was actually the body language of Keane, and just his eyes are just so intense, and you could see there's almost like this fear in the two guys interviewing him, like, because one of them suggested that he was alluding to Pogba in the sense of a player who's not performing professionally, and he said, I wasn't talking about Pogba, even though it was quite clear that he was actually talking about Pogba, but just this kind of tension even in the interview. But everything Keane said in that interview was absolutely nailed on, and then I was coming back from that interview, I was like, you're so right there, yet you're a terrible man manager.
So everything he said in that interview, like, was about Manchester United, but it was also about Ireland though as well.
It wasn't though.
To be about whoever you wanted to be about.
To me, if you're going to speculate about his football worldview.
Well, if you haven't heard what he said, basically he said, you may not get on with the manager, and you may not get on with this and that, but you have a duty to yourself, to your family, to your club, to perform for 90 minutes. And that's why Pogba's been an absolute disgrace, I think, this season. You know, his body language, I think it was, as was put in one article today, he's feigned indifference. It's like he's putting on a show. And in fairness to Keane was kind of saying, like, I may not like my manager, but I'm going to perform. And like he was absolutely right in what he said. If Pogba doesn't want to play for Man United, leave, but don't disgrace yourself and let everyone down like he's been doing this season, including obviously Mourinho.
I think Keane probably thrives in that context.
Did you not find those comments pointed from the Ireland situation, from what way it was reported in the last month?
Yeah, I don't think, you know, sometimes it's a leap. I don't think it's a leap to say that, you know, and I think
crybabies, was that the phrase you used?
I think it reflects his view of, I'd say, quite a few footballers. I mean, I think we don't need to stop at Pogba and, you know, Arthur. You know, I think we can say that his view of footballers generally. That's the interesting aspect of the Walters comments, that, you know, that approach to a degree may be commendable, and if you have a particular view about the player in question, right, you will completely agree, because you don't particularly rate Pogba, you don't like his attitude, so when Roy has a go, you're like, yes, that's exactly what we want to hear. But then if he says it about someone who's a slightly more sympathetic figure, you're thinking, no, that's dreadful management.
That's the whole point.
He needs to show a bit more sympathy of his position.
Well, let's every player like that.
Rather than what's the word, I'm paraphrasing what he actually said, let's hear what he actually said. This was on the now world famous Nuts TV during the week. Roy talking about crybabies in football.
We talk about footballers and managers. Not every player is going to get on with the manager. The manager's not going to like every player. But what you do as a footballer, and I've had whatever disagreements I've had with one or two managers, when you cross that line, you play for your team. I don't care what fall-up you've had with your manager. I don't care if you've been at each other's throats, because that is part of the industry. People do fall out. It happens in other industries. But unfortunately, when you're Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, things will get exaggerated. But if you're a footballer from Manchester United and you put that jersey on and you walk out and you don't give 100% because you might be upset with somebody, then no, good luck to Mourinho on this stuff.
So you think that Pogba, despite
I'm not talking about Pogba.
Okay.
I'm talking about players in general. Players who get upset with a manager or a coaching staff and think, I'm not going to train properly because somebody upset me. There's a lot of crybabies out there. Lots of when you walk out on that pitch, you're playing for your pride, you're playing for your family, you're playing for your city, you're playing whatever it might be. Don't get that worried about what the manager said about you or the coaching staff. You get out there and play. And you can follow it after the match. But when the game's going on, liven up. Play with pride, play with energy, play with spirit, hopefully play with a bit of skill. But you can always play with skill. You can have a bad day, but on your bad days, you roll your sleeves up and you fight for that jersey and don't get distracted by the balloons out there.
The balloons out there.
I think that clip just in a way sums up why Roy Keane is not a success as a manager, because you just can't treat everyone like he's expressing the opinion there. Like, there are a lot of crybabies out there. There are, but you're dealing with complex individuals, a lot of whom are completely mollycoddled since they came to the club or since they started professional football. And unfortunately, Keane doesn't have the currency anymore.
Is that not Pogba as well, though?
Pogba?
You're not saying that you thought he was bang on about Pogba?
I think he's bang on about Pogba, but that's not going to work, unfortunately, anymore in terms of treating players individually. I'm not sure what to do.
What you're saying is his opinion is right for a guy sitting in a bar talking to his mates, but it's wrong for someone who aspires to be a manager.
In general, he's right, but he's kind of telling you what football should be like when you get out on the pitch, whereas it's not for everyone. It means something completely different to each player. And, you know, not going back to Dundalk, but Stephen Kenny put together a team at Dundalk that were basically a load of lads that had a lot to prove. And he was the guy that made them believe in themselves, and they looked around the dressing room and they were growing together as a group. But individually, Stephen Kenny believed in them, and I don't think Keane has that in him. Whereas Dan, it's a fair point to make. Like, I don't know what you do with Pogba, to be honest. It's certainly Mourinho hasn't worked. I don't think Keane would work. Maybe Deschamps worked, but that was for a short summer tournament.
Well, let's talk to a man now who was always mollycoddled throughout his career. Kevin Kilbane joins us on the Skype line. Kevin, how you doing?
That's not changed since I started playing, since I finished playing, should I say, Tommy. I'm always mollycoddled, you know.
Well, since you joined me in Virgin Media TV, we mollycoddle you beautifully, I hope. Just a quick update around the scores, by the way, lads. It was Ricardo Pereira who equalised for Leicester there that we didn't recognise, unfortunately. Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0, Sam Vokes scoring there. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. Richarlison did put Everton ahead. Ricardo Pereira equalising, just coming up to half-time in all these games. Eric Dyer with the goal for Spurs, 1-0 up against Cardiff at Wembley. And Bournemouth have just made it 3-0 away to Watford. Josh King with a second goal there, so Bournemouth rampant. Kevin, we're sort of veering into Man U territory. I'm sure you've been following the story. We have been talking Ireland for the last hour or so. I tell you what, we'll finish off on Ireland with yourself now that we have you on the line there. What have you made of the week as a whole? Arthur back positive. Rice saga rumbles on, a bit of a negative, and looking ahead to two massive games in the Wales with the Wales-Denmark games coming up.
Yeah, I think we're all pleased that Harry Arthur has, or whatever issues is there, has been spoken about anyway. And I think at least now he's back amongst the squad. I think it needed to happen. We've spoken so often about the lack of Premier League players that we have within the squad, so I think that's a good thing that he's come back in. I thought he played quite well against Burnley last week. I was at the match and I thought he did okay, actually. So that's a pleasing thing. Overall, I would like us to have maybe one or two more players available, Robbie Brady and Seamus Coleman, the obvious misses. But we've got two toughies on for us now. I think we know that 2 toughies next weekend.
Just before we move on, the Arthur thing, just some concerns here in studio about, in, out, what's his position in the camp? Is he a player who, if he doesn't perform, people are kind of turning up their noses at him, going, well, he doesn't really want to be here, and has he ever really done it for us? And is he someone who is going to be welcomed back with open arms in this camp?
Yeah, I would like to think so. It's not. He's not pulling out the squad, is he? For I don't know, something quite trivial. He's made his feelings been on. There's been an argument. There's been words said, and he's clearly not happy with that. It's been sorted now. So that in that respect, I don't see it being a problem. I think he'll be welcomed by the supporters. I can't see that being an issue. I think the players themselves will welcome him back in if he does have a poor game. Because in fairness, I don't think he has shown the form in an Ireland shirt that he's shown playing for Bournemouth or even Cardiff, or wherever it's been. He's never shown that form that we've seen. Maybe not so much last season, but certainly the season before and beyond that in a Bournemouth shirt. He hasn't played to that level. We know that. But I think there could be one or two others that you could level that at within our squad as it is. If he doesn't perform and he does that over a couple of games, there may be one or two of us around it that will maybe look at this incident as being an issue. I think that will be the case. I think that's guaranteed to happen. But I think in general now, we just got to take it now face value. He's back in the squad. Look forward to these next 2 games, and then we can maybe assess it now come the end of this Nations League campaign.
Okay, we'll round off on Ireland now and move on after the break. A couple of quick texts. If I was Martin O'Neill, I would sell Ireland to Rice by saying he only needs to have a half-decent career to be a cult hero. If he does well, he'll be a national hero who will never have to buy a drink in Ireland ever again. With England, unless you win something, it could ruin your life with the tabloids hiding in the bushes and the bins 24/7. Yes! That'll sell it to him.
That's the text from 2015, I think.
Right, I have to take an ad break now after this. Just to give you a quick update on the half times around the Premier League. Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0, Palace 0, Wolves 0, Leicester 1, Everton 1, Spurs 1, Cardiff 0, and it's Watford 0, Bournemouth 3. Stay with us on Off the Ball.
Football on Off the Ball. In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play. Budget 2009.
Your government has the will to bring us out of this period of severe economic distress.
Budget 2012. The Finance Minister has described his budget as tough but necessary. Budget 2015.
The policies pursued by this government have worked, and the recovery in the Irish economy is well underway.
As we end a decade of recession and recovery, what will the soundtrack be for Budget 2019? Next Tuesday on News Talk, Kieran Cuddihy and Ivan Yates will be live from 1 p.m. with the full speeches from the Dáil, along with real-time reaction and expert analysis. Budget 2019, live on News Talk and online at newstalk.com and our social media channels. Brought to you by Grant Thornton for expert advice on how the budget affects your business.
Dad, can you help me with my homework?
Sure, son. Ask away.
Okay. Name me a famous revolutionary leader.
That's easy. That'd be Applegreen. You see, with Fuel Good, Applegreen were the first to deliver quality fuels that save you up to 4 cents a litre. 2 P's on Applegreen there, son.
Are you sure about this?
Positive, son. Savings of up to 4 cents a litre.
The revolution is Fuel Good from Applegreen, our most advanced fuel ever at no extra cost. Applegreen, low fuel prices, always.
Ferco Windows and Doors keep the heat in and the burglars out. Guaranteed. See ferco.ie.
Before it became a medicine, it was an idea, an inspiration, a wild what if. So, scientists went to work. They examined 87 different protein structures, had 12 years of setbacks and breakthroughs, 4,423 sleepless nights and countless trips back to the drawing board. At first they were told, no. Then, maybe. And finally, yes. And that was just the beginning. Then it was 36 clinical trials, 8,500 patient volunteers, and the hope of millions. And so, after it became a medicine, people who couldn't be cured could be. Pfizer, driven to discover the cure.
With Irish Life Family Protection, you can protect your family's income, not just with life insurance, but also if you can't work through illness or injury. So that's one less thing to worry about. Find out more at irishlife.ie or contact your financial broker or advisor. We know Irish Life. We are Irish Life. Irish Life Assurance plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Blackrock Clinic, we offer direct access to our expert team of endoscopy specialists. So if you're concerned about a stomach or bowel issue, we can quickly find the cause and whether it's serious or not. With a referral from your GP, an appointment can be arranged within 24 hours. For access to a world-class endoscopy unit, think first. Think Blackrock Clinic. Blackrock Clinic, when your experience needs ours.
Bruce Betting Sportsbook, Casino and now Live Casino. Download the Bruce Betting app to see why for the Premier League, Bruce Betting are giving you more. With price boosts, live in-play betting, cash out and ACCA insurance. Make Bruce Betting your Premier League bookmaker. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Are you looking to advance your career options with a recognised project management qualification? The Institute of Project Management has set the standard in project management education and certification for over 25 years. Our certified diploma programmes provide access to level 8 and 9 qualifications and globally recognised IPMA certification. Enhance your project management skills, acquire recognised qualifications and move your career forward with the Institute's guidance and expertise. Contact the Institute at projectmanagement.ie.
Follow the sun as it slowly sinks behind Kinsale Harbour before resting your gaze on the boats coming in, where the only distraction is the scent of fresh mussels as you sit back to let the moment linger. Let go and embrace the Wild Atlantic way of life. Plan your holiday now on the Wild Atlantic Way.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
You're listening to Off the Ball. Tommy Martin sitting in for Nathan Murphy, joined in studio by Johnny Ward and Danny McDonnell, and on the line by Kevin Kilbane to chat through all today's football. Half-time in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Let's start with Wembley, Tottenham against Cardiff and Andrew Cheal. No, let's not do that. Let's start with Turf Moor. Just a slight step down from Wembley with Adam Jury. It's Burnley against Huddersfield.
Burnley enter the break leading Huddersfield by a goal to nil. The deadlock was broken on the 20th minute when Sam Vokes rose highest to meet Johan Berg Gudmundsson's in-swinging cross to lead the ball into the bottom right corner of the net. Huddersfield have had the lion's share of possession, but they failed to make it count once they've entered the penalty area, giving Joe Hart in the Clarets goal no trouble whatsoever as they failed to hit the target once. Half-time at Turf Moor, it's Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0.
Shane Pinnington is at Leicester Everton.
Leicester 1, Everton 1. It was the visitors who took the lead in this game when Bernard, on his first Premier League start of the season, ghosted past Pereira at the right back to get a cross in from the left-hand side, and there was Richarlison to volley home at the back post. Then Walcott and Sigurdsson forced good saves from Schmeichel before Leicester equalised 5 minutes before half-time. Ricardo Pereira breaking from an Everton corner, driving at the Everton defenders, going past 3 of them before coolly slotting beyond Jordan Pickford in the Everton goal. It's Leicester 1, Everton 1.
Tottenham lead Cardiff at Wembley. Here's Andrew Cheal.
Tottenham 1, Cardiff 0. Plenty of chances to Spurs. Eric Dyer put them ahead early on, following up from close range when Sissoko's header was blocked by a defender. Son shot wildly over the bar. Lucas Moura's looking lively. One header too high, one shot wastefully wide. For Cardiff, it's not all been defence. One great chance, Murphy beating the keeper with a clever chip, but Eric Dyer cleared off the goal line. Twice also Hugo Lloris has had to dash off the Spurs line to thwart oncoming strikers. It's half-time, Spurs 1, Cardiff 0.
Stunning first half for Bournemouth at Vicarage Road in that meeting of 6th and 7th. Here's Nigel Bidmead.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 3, and Watford down to 10 men after centre-half Christian Kabasele was sent off before the second goal. Bournemouth ahead on 14 through a lightning counter-attack. Josh King's cross reached Callum Wilson. Ben Foster brilliantly saved his effort, but David Brooks scored from the rebound. On 32, King escaped Kabasele, who brought him down. He'd already been booked, so off he went. King slotted the penalty, and then right on the stroke of half-time, Wilson crossed from the left. King nodded home his second of the game and 4th of the season. Watford 0, AFC Bournemouth 3.
And our final stop is Selhurst Park. It's Palace Wolves. Here's Mike Lawrence.
Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. The home side started the brighter before Wolves carved out the best 2 chances courtesy of Raúl Jiménez, but neither side has been able to find that killer finish in awful conditions. Jiménez denied by a fine one-handed save by Palace keeper Wayne Hennessy. Palace looking to break that duck, having failed to score at home this season. Jeffrey Schlupp skying a chance over the bar after Wolves keeper Patricio spilled an incoming free kick. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0.
Okay, next week, Off the Ball are celebrating the return of the Heineken Champions Cup with a very special show live from University Concert Hall, Limerick on Thursday. That's the 11th of October in association with Heineken Rugby Club. It's a sit-down with one of Munster, Ireland and now Canterbury Crusaders' favourite sons, Ronan O'Gara. He'll be alongside Brian O'Driscoll, Keith Wood and Nathan Murphy. It's now fully sold out, but we do have a couple of VIP tickets to give away today. You'll get the best seats in the house and a meet and greet with Ronan, Keith and Brian, and Nathan as well, of course. To be in with a chance of winning, just answer this question. In which English city will the 2018-19 Champions Cup final be held? Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. And bear in mind, this is an over 18s event. Visit drinkaware.ie. It's the latest Off the Ball roadshow in association with Heineken Rugby Cup. And one text in on the whole Roy Keane management situation there. Roy Keane and crybabies. Keane walked out on the Irish team.
What happened? What was that about?
No, we're not going there.
If only we knew someone that was there.
Kevin!
What we are doing is we have to take another ad break now, and we'll be back for all the second halves. And we'll get Kevin's ticket. No, we won't. And all that after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Join that conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Smile if you're an Electric Ireland electricity and gas customer, because compared to being with other suppliers, you're saving up to €806 with us, excluding year one discounts, giving you the best long-term savings over 3 years. Search Electric Ireland Price Check and see how much you're saving. Because being with Electric Ireland is smart, staying with us long-term is smarter. Electric Ireland, that's smarter living. Conditions apply. Estimated annual bill is €1,673. Year one discounts excluded. Dual fuel, direct debit and online billing. Residential customers only. See comparison at electricireland.ie/price check. Based on rates at October 1st, 2018.
October 26th is polling day. On that day, you will be asked to vote on a change to our constitution. The question is about whether or not we remove the wording that requires blasphemy to be a criminal offence. To get all the facts from a clear and independent source before you make up your mind, go to refcom.ie. Everything your vote means is explained there. Because on October 26th, your vote means everything. Brought to you by the Referendum Commission.
This year in Ireland, over 60,000 people will turn 65. That's an extra 60,000 people who will be eligible for pneumococcal vaccination through the National Immunisation Programme. Pneumococcal disease, or pneumo, can cause death and serious illness. Of those who get pneumo, 1 in 4 will get pneumonia, 1 in 4 will get meningitis, and 1 in 10 will die. Pneumo vaccination is recommended if you're 65 and over, or if you're in an at-risk group such as people living with diabetes, asthma, or heart disease. Talk to your GP, practice nurse or pharmacist today about pneumo vaccination or visit pneumo.ie. Brought to you by MSD, supported by Age Action, Diabetes Ireland, the Asthma Society of Ireland and CRE.
Bruce Betting, Sportsbook, Casino and now Live Casino. Download the Bruce Betting app to see why for the Premier League, Bruce Betting are giving you more. With price boosts, live in-play betting, cash out and ACCA insurance. Make Bruce Betting your Premier League bookmaker. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
Hi, I can't see your face now, but I can picture you. You're in the car going home and you're keeping your eyes firmly on the road. That's good. You should be doing that. But your son, or maybe it's your daughter, is sitting beside you and they're looking straight ahead too, staring out the windscreen at the car in front like it's the most interesting thing they've ever seen. And they're saying nothing, and you're saying nothing, but you both know something needs to get said, and they don't know where to start because they just feel a bit rubbish. They have done for weeks, and they don't know if it's just being 15, or just them, or just life. And you're both uncomfortable listening to this. Don't be, because you've found it. Your listening place. You don't even have to look at each other. Just being close like this is enough. Just ask how they are and listen.
Lidl support Jigsaw, and Jigsaw supports us all by helping us find ways to really listen to young people and be the one good adult in their lives. Pick up your Lidl Book of Listening in store throughout Mental Health Week, October 7th to 13th.
Hello, I'm your car, from the future. You will be driving me a few years from now. Well, actually, you won't. I will be doing the driving for you, and I am an excellent driver. I will also park myself for you, and on my slow setting, I will walk your dog too. But there are limits to what I can do for you. So if you want to be properly future ready, you'll want a pension, powered by Zurich's award-winning investment performance. You talk to a financial broker or visit zurich.ie. I will present myself for my NCT.
Investment Excellence Brokers Ireland 2017. Zurich Life Assurance plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Zurich, the power behind your pension.
At Volvo, we know every journey counts. That's why the Volvo XC60 Hybrid blends uncompromising power, Scandinavian design and world-leading safety technology. And with lower CO2 emissions, it means your journey counts even more. The Volvo XC60 Hybrid with luxury digital pack worth €3,230 for just €699 with premium sound system, rear parking camera and more. Contact your local Volvo dealer for a test drive. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply.
On 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon, I'm Adrian Harman. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses to a shooting in Dublin in which a 45-year-old man was killed. The father of two was gunned down as he answered the door at a house in Poppintree Crescent in Ballymun last night. Two men believed to be armed with handguns made their getaway on foot and were last seen on Willow Park Road. While no motive has yet been established, Superintendent Brian Daly is urging anyone with information to come forward.
We're making an appeal there. If anybody saw anyone between 10 p.m. and 12 midnight last night, anybody acting suspiciously in that particular area, if they have dash cams or any other information, would they call us please at 01 666 4400, which is Ballymun Garda Station, or on the confidential line at 1-800 666 111.
A judge accused of sexual assault is all but certain to be appointed to sit on America's top court. A yes vote later in the US Senate will put him on course to serve on the court. Brett Kavanaugh's backed by Donald Trump, who's been aiming to make sure the 9-seat panel is mostly Republicans. Brett Kavanaugh denies a string of offences, but he narrowly secured endorsement last night. And search teams in Indonesia say they're finding more bodies as they work through the devastation left by the earthquake and tsunami. 1,649 people have died and at least 265 are still missing. 32 people were found near a mosque and primary school in the Palu region this morning. Don't forget, for all the latest news updates, you can go to our website. That's newstalk.com.
Newstalk weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. Supplying and fitting your new carpet or wood flooring in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
Cool and mostly dry for the evening with just the chance of an isolated shower. Highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. And now you're up to date on Newstalk.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Yeah, you're listening to Off the Ball. Tommy Martin sitting in for Nathan Murphy, your regular Saturday afternoon host, joined in studio by Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward, going through all the football in the Premier League, all in association with Boyle Sports. And Kevin Kilbane is joining us on the line as well. Just by the way, that game at Vicarage Road, absolutely crazy stuff. Bournemouth have just made it 4-0 just right after half-time. Callum Wilson with the goal there. Watford having had a man sent off in the first half. 4-0 Bournemouth. That was a meeting of 6th and 7th there, and it would make it 4 games without a win for Watford, so maybe really tailing off that brilliant start to the season that they had. It's Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0, Sam Vokes with an early goal there, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0, Leicester 1, Everton 1 at the King Power Stadium. Richarlison putting Everton ahead and Ricardo Pereira equalising for Leicester. Eric Dyer with the only goal of the game at Wembley. Tottenham 1-0 up against Cardiff, and Watford 0, Bournemouth 0. Kevin, that's an extraordinary scoreline, isn't it? Even bearing in mind that Watford had a man sent off, but Watford's defensive record before this, they'd only one of the really interesting stats that they had, they'd only allowed opponents 19 shots on target in the season so far, and that was second only to Manchester City. What a collapse today.
I know. I was actually asked yesterday, can you give me 2 results outside the top teams that you fancy tomorrow? One of them I give was Burnley to beat Huddersfield. The other was Watford to beat Bournemouth. So there you go. It shows what I know, doesn't it? It's unbelievable, really. But yeah, I mean, I've seen Watford a couple of times. Impressed with them, more so defensively. Solid, difficult to play against. If they're going to get beat, it'll be by the odd goal. That's what you'd feel with them. So yeah, very, very surprising. And I think largely down to the way that Bournemouth have been playing away as well. They've not been great themselves. I saw the game. Who was it? They got beat Burnley, actually, the Burnley of the week, and they were dreadful in that game. So this is a big return for them.
Yeah, there was a little bit of the immovable object, irresistible force about that, because Bournemouth have been so good in attack. They did 178 touches in the opposition penalty box, which only the top 4 in the league were better than that. It looks like the irresistible force is getting on top there.
Yeah, and I think by Watford it was probably a question mark how they would react to their first setback, because they had such a good start, and psychologically maybe it's just hit them a bit. But it's I suppose the league is still kind of forming some sort of shape. It's hard to know where Watford and Bournemouth will end up, but yeah.
Let's get the details of that goal then from Nigel Bidmead.
Watford 0, AFC Bournemouth 4. The 4th goal coming a minute and 46 after the restart. Ryan Fraser with the cross from the left. Callum Wilson got a toe to it before Ben Foster. Up in the air it went, and it was Wilson slamming it home into an empty net. Watford 0, AFC Bournemouth 4.
It sounds like Bournemouth are what it says on Kevin's mug today. Kevin, can you show us?
What's that?
It sounds like Bournemouth are what it says. Yes. And for those listening on radio, Kevin's drinking a mug that says "too hot to handle."
Do you mind me asking where you got that? How you got that? And off whom?
Johnny, there's many things that I've got in this house that I don't know where they've come from. So that would be another one, actually. So I don't know where it's come from. I really don't know.
It's like Del Boy, where he's like getting everything out of the house when Rodney meets the policewoman, because he's like, half this stuff is legit, half it is nicked, but it's here so long I can't tell one from the other.
Johnny, it's not stolen. It's not stolen.
All legit.
No, come on.
Kosher Kev. We're joined on the line as well by Leon Blanche. The football chat, as always, brought to you by Boyle Sports, and Leon, I believe, is in Vegas now. Leon, can you join us? Are you there?
I am indeed, Tommy. How are you?
Very good. We did have a McGregor Khabib panel earlier on, which our listeners can download and view in their usual sources. So it's well worth a listen. Actually, Chris Fields, Andy Lee chipping in, and Kieran Cunningham chipping in with their view on the McGregor phenomenon ahead of that. What's the buzz there? What's the vibe? And what are the Vegas bookies saying about it all?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's starting to obviously build up, Tommy. The fight will happen here tonight. They reckon Vegas time around 9:30, 9:45. But there's a lot of bad blood between these two fighters, Tommy. I don't think I've seen a fight that they just have no respect for each other. I'd actually go as far to say there's a bit of hatred for each other. And McGregor and Khabib, both at the press conference and the weigh-in, they have let their feelings be known that this is the fight that they've both really wanted. McGregor's the underdog, and you can see why. He's been out of the ring for 2 years, been out of the octagon for 2 years. At Boyle Sports, we've gone top price McGregor at 13-8. Khabib is the overwhelming odds-on favourite. Look, McGregor, he's fought some of the best fighters in the history of the sport. Remember when everyone said when he fought José Aldo, he's no chance. He knocked him out inside, I think it was 10 or 11 seconds. So right off McGregor at your peril. I think with Khabib, however, he's won 26 fights from 26. So nobody's beaten this guy. So I think he deserves to be favourite. But I think if McGregor's going to win, Tommy, a lot of the people over here, even like a lot of the American guys, they're all saying he's got to knock him out in round 1 or round 2. I think a lot of people are fancying that if it goes the distance, Khabib might just be able to wear him down. Now McGregor, round 1 or round 2, we've got a special. We're going 9-2 from 9-4 offtheball.com/Boyle Sports. And I think, having watched a few of McGregor's fights, I've been here for a few of them, he normally starts very, very quickly. So I think if he's to win, I think he's got to do it sharpishly. But definitely, he is the underdog. He's going to start underdog, but maybe that's not a bad thing.
And we were asking the lads earlier, Dan and Johnny, whether you were sort of get dressed up to the nines, go out on the town drinking cocktails, what for a McGregor fight, or set the alarm clock, strong coffee, and get up early for.
I'll sleep well.
You'll sleep well.
I won't be watching it one way or the other.
Oh, well, there you go. That's that. What about you, Kevin?
No, I probably won't be watching it tonight. I won't be up for that one. I tell you what my plan is tonight. I'm actually, you know what I've got to do tomorrow morning? I've got to get to Fulham for the 12 o'clock kickoff. So
do we really want to hear his plan for tonight then?
Yeah, it was like you're just imposing it on us. Like,
I want to get on to 5:30 kickoff today. Is a fascinating one and an intriguing one in so many ways. And maybe more so of what's happening around the game rather than what the game itself will be like. It is, of course, Man United and Newcastle. I'm going to get Leon's take on that shortly and the prices around that in a moment. Well, Kevin, just an extraordinary week around Manchester United. With the performance against Valencia, the ramping up of pressure on Mourinho.
Yeah.
The pundits coming out on one side, Valencia liking an Instagram post which said the manager was poor, and the other, and then taking that back. Stories last night from seemingly well briefed sources that he was going to go no matter what. They were retracted, and the board, leaking stories that they were going to back him no matter what. Is it all just symptomatic of the general mess at Old Trafford right now? And is there any quick way out of this for Manchester United? Bear in mind, I know they finished second in the Premier League last year, but just a sense of disorder around the club right now.
Yeah, well, it is. I do think it is a bit of a mess. A bit of a mess, should I say? But you know what? I saw the story that was broke this morning in the Mirror. First one, I thought it was actually David McDonnell that broke the story. I'm thinking Dan straight away. Dan's got an exclusive on Man United here, being Jose Mourinho leaving Man United.
It's Daniel McDonnell's evil twin.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that story, it's obviously it's gone big, and if he were to go today, regardless of the result, which in all honesty, it seems like it's going to happen. We did the game on Tuesday, Tommy, that Valencia game, and apart from the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game, there's been a lot of those this season. United have started well in a couple of the games. The life is almost sucked out of the game. Last week against West Ham, the way they started that match, I think the West Ham game last week was more alarming than the Valencia match, just in team selection and personnel in different positions throughout the pitch. McTominay playing left side centre half. It made no sense to me. You're leaving a player who's on 350 grand a week on the bench, and you make him travel. I mean, it's just what are you thinking when the way that you're treating people when they they've all got the personal pride at stake and all these sort of things. And I understand that maybe he hasn't been performing. I take that on board. But Alexis Sanchez deserves a place on the bench last week. He doesn't need to be going down, travelling to London, and then just being left in the stands. It's crazy, the decisions that he's making. And you would look at it as an outsider looking in, I suppose, as well, and maybe a total novice to it. You would think he's actually asking for the sack with how he's conducting himself, team selections, all these sort of things. So if he were to go today, regardless of the result, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be. And as you alluded to before, it just seems like it's been one big mess after another. And this is not new. This has been going on for a number of years now.
Asking for the sack is kind of it's an incredible thing to get your head around. But do you think he looks like a man who knows the end is coming and is almost preparing the ground and the story around it, basically trying to pitch the blame back towards the boardroom and the dressing room, Johnny?
Yeah, and players as well. Yeah. I think the expression in the obviously it was another of these terse press conferences, and he more or less tersely replied to the effect that he kind of is failing, and you were just wondering, that's very un-Mourinho like. It was like that there was
run out of answers.
Yeah, and it's as Dan spoke about before, it's hard to tell the pantomime from reality with Mourinho, but it's clear that when you watch them and you look at Mourinho, for all his limitations as a manager in a game that is evolving, I don't think he's ever fully got to grips with kind of maybe the high tempo games of like Klopp and Guardiola. But at least his team will be defensively set up quite solid, and they wouldn't give much away. There's nothing about this team that has anything in terms of any structure or narrative.
Johnny, say that as well. I think it's 44 games now where United Jose Mourinho hasn't played the same team, and that's the perfect point there that you make about Mourinho's back. Mourinho's back fours have always been fairly solid enough, or certainly personnel rarely ever changes. And sometimes you're looking at it thinking, when is he actually going to give some of these players a rest? Now, I understand he's at United and he's got a lot of people to keep happy, but the back four has constantly changed, and that's a message. Clearly, that is a message to the board. How I've done things throughout my career is very different from how I'm doing things here at United, and I need backup. And it's just it's conflicting constantly throughout the players and the manager and the board. And it only seems to me like it's going to give in the next, I would say probably week or so, if not the next 24 hours.
Yeah, United have conceded 12 goals this season. The league took them 18 matches to concede that total last season. There's been a goal at Selhurst Park there. Let's get details of that one now with Mike Lawrence. Oh, we don't have Mike Lawrence there. I can tell you, though, can break the news that Wolves have gone a goal to nil up at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace, and the goal scorer is Matt Doherty.
Oh, what about that?
The man who doesn't drive. What was the phrase that Martin O'Neill used about him? Doesn't drive forward.
Drive forward enough. And and it's funny. We'll talk about Doherty in a second. But I was listening coming in that Wolves have named an unchanged side. In every, it was 8 in a row.
8 game was a Premier League record.
That's incredible. And but it just goes to show that that's why you're getting a consistency of performance from them that you're not getting from Manchester United. But yeah, in terms of Matt Doherty, the star continues to rise.
The Doherty thing has to be a big discussion now. How can
Coleman's out now?
Yeah.
So
let's discuss it after this. Mike Lawrence can tell us about the goal.
Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1. Matt Doherty has given the visitors the lead here. A good move down the right-hand side. Doherty playing a 1-2 with Raúl Jiménez before firing low past Hennessy in the Palace goal from the narrowest of angles to make it Crystal Palace 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
Johnny, Matt Doherty, stick to beat O'Neill with?
Well, we have very few players who are playing with good teams, and he's playing with a seriously good team in Wolves and playing a smashing brand of football. And I haven't seen enough of them, but I'd say he's probably been one of the best right backs in the league this season. Well, he's stats and all that.
He's playing right wing back, but the amount of touches he's getting in a game, and he's
a big influence going forward.
He's there. Often a lot of their attacking players coming down their right side, and it is a huge credit to Doherty. I mean, he's improving as well. I mean, we saw him play last year actually with Kev at Preston, and he was a big outlet for Wolves within that game. But the natural question mark is going up that level, because they had another guy, Barry Douglas, on the other side who's left. I think he's gone to Leeds. But Doherty has survived to the point where now he just looks unbelievably comfortable and at home there. And in an Irish context, it is becoming a much bigger story. The natural way of dampening it was, Seamus Coleman is there. So, I mean, come on, let's get realistic. Seamus Coleman.
There's one for Kevin. Is Martin O'Neill in the situation where, because he has so few Premier League starters or top level starters, that he needs to find a way to get them into a team?
I do think that, I spoke about Arthur before as well. That there are several players, I think, within or have been around the squad that have not necessarily been getting regular game time that need to be seriously considered. Now, he's certainly one, Matt Doherty, isn't he? We spoke about him last season, the level he was playing at, the performances he was showing, and the consistency he was showing week in, week out. There are a number of players that probably need to be getting into the side. Yeah, of course there are.
Let's get back to Manchester United then. Keep you up to date with all those 3 o'clock scores as they're happening at the moment. That's Wolves goal to nil up against Crystal Palace, who haven't scored in their last 3 home games, their first 3 home games of the season, I should say. Burnley 1, Huddersfield 0, Leicester 1, Everton 1, Spurs 1, Cardiff 0, and Watford 0, Bournemouth 4. Leon, just give us the lines on the 5:30 kickoff then. United, Newcastle. United looking to avoid a run of 5 games without a win.
Yeah, look, Tommy, United are very short. They're at home, but there's a lot of pressure on them to get a result. And as Kevin was saying, watching that game on Tuesday night, they didn't really create anything. And it's a perfect game for Rafa Benitez to just go to Old Trafford and just defend. Put 11 men behind the ball and say to Mourinho, you've got to come out and you've got to break us down. And that's the one thing you've got to say about his United team at the moment. They don't seem to be able to do that. I mean, if teams attack them, yes, maybe there's a little bit of space, but Newcastle are not going to attack, I don't feel, tonight at 5:30. And Newcastle are 8-1. Look, no one really expects Newcastle to go there and win, to be fair. United are 5-2 on, but you certainly wouldn't be backing United at that price. They're just way too short. Maybe the draw comes into the reckoning at 7-2. But big problems. I agree with the lads of saying I think it's only a matter of time before Mourinho leaves Old Trafford. It was never really a good fit, Tommy, to be fair. His style of football is not really the way Manchester United had been so successful. 2 wingers, 2 strikers, playing attacking football all the time. So yeah, for me, it's only a matter of time before he leaves.
And you can't give us prices on next Manchester United manager because there is a Manchester United manager in place. But what sort of names will, when and if and when, and probably soon that becomes a live market, what sort of names will be up there? I mean, Zidane is the strongest one at the moment in terms of the stories in the papers.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're looking, Tommy, like, who's available. And I suppose everybody seems to be talking about Zidane. I mean, he's available. He won 3 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid. He won a La Liga title. I'm sure the attacking players at Manchester United would be wetting their lips if they were to hear that Zidane was going to come in and replace Mourinho. Because the one thing about Zidane is he would actually have a go. And I think all those attacking players who are being restricted and restrained by Mourinho, they'd love the thought of a World Cup winner as a player, a man who just oozes class, and his teams just attack. They play a type of a brand of football that would excite the Manchester United fans. I'm not saying that the current squad would be good enough, but I do feel the players who are there right now, they would get a new lease of life, certainly with someone like him coming into the hot seat.
Details of a red card at the King Power Stadium. Here's Shane Pennington.
It's Leicester 1, Everton 1, but the home side have just been reduced to 10 men because their captain Wes Morgan's just been sent off for a second bookable offence. His second yellow card was after a late challenge on Richarlison on the halfway line that left him in a heap on the ground. The referee, Andre Marino, went straight to his pocket. Second yellow card was out and Morgan was off for an early bath. It's Leicester 1, Everton 1.
So Zidane for United then, Kevin, what do you make of that, if it happens?
You look at the names that's available at the moment. Conte was one I seen in the betting. Yes, Zidane. Do you know what? The way they'd probably look at it at United's point of view is who is going to get the best out of somebody like Paul Pogba? Who is going to get the attacking players? Maybe Leon's alluded to the playing, and I think certainly Pogba. You know for a fact straight away there would be some sort of understanding between Pogba and Zidane. So it would be understandable. Would he be the sort of coach that would go in and seriously change the whole dynamics of the squad going forward and the team going forward? I don't know. That might be a longer term plan. But if you're looking for a short term fix, certainly over an 18-month, maybe a 2-year period, then I think Zidane would be that type of character, yeah.
It's just been a goal at Turf Moor in the game between Burnley and Huddersfield. Here's Adam Jury.
Burnley 1, Huddersfield 1. Christopher Schindler has given an equaliser to the Terriers and maybe a chance for them to go on and find themselves a winner. Chris Love whipped in across into the penalty area and Schindler messed it with his head and guided it into the bottom right-hand corner. The first effort on target for the Terriers, and it gives them the equaliser. Burnley 1, Huddersfield 1.
Yeah, just 2 points on the board for Huddersfield and just 3 goals this season so far. That's just their 4th goal of the season. A win would be massive for them, Kevin. One of your old clubs. Problems there, just getting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, it is. There's a number of clubs like that. I saw Cardiff last week that struggle with that. Certainly Huddersfield another. There's a lot of clubs, I think, certainly at the foot of the Premier League they're going to struggle to try and go on and win games. It's okay, I think, in certain games as well, getting 1-0 up or creating chances, get yourself in front in matches. But is there any of those sides at the bottom that you get lay your hat on and getting 2 and 3 goals that's going to kill a game off? And there isn't. That's why they're going to be in tight matches, unless they're playing top 6 sides, until the end of the season.
Coming back to Zidane, United, next manager, whenever it happens. I don't know if you heard Gary Neville's response. He was asked on Sky Sports last night. This was towards the end of their coverage of Brighton's win over West Ham, and that story that David McDonnell, rather than Daniel McDonnell, reported in the Daily Mirror that José Mourinho was going to get sacked no matter what happened today, had just broken. And Gary Neville's point was, he said he was furious at the whole thing, and it's something he said before, that the whole identity of the club has been stripped away by hiring, firing, sacking managers, and very much directing any criticism that is there towards the board and the people running the club and the whole identity of the club in his view. What did you make of that?
Yeah, there's probably a fair point, but I suppose Scholes has countered there that Man United do have a lot of talent at their disposal, but I suppose where is the club going in terms of philosophy and just what's at the heart of it, and why is Pogba's great for the brand. So is Pogba a lot more important than Mourinho? He probably is. I haven't fully seen what Neville said, but I still don't think you can absolve Mourinho of the blame here. That squad is good enough, and even the players that he wasn't allowed to sign, he was allowed to sign better defenders than he signed.
Yeah.
And he's. I think Mourinho's probably. He may well be faced with his own mortality here, in the sense that, where am I going now? Who's going to take Mourinho on next? The two big questions are, who's going to get the Man United job and where will Mourinho go next? I find both very hard to answer.
I think Neville's view is that the club almost lost its soul when it sacked David Moyes. Never mind anyone else. That this was not the Manchester United way, if such a thing exists, in the sense of, it was before Alex Ferguson, but in terms of the modern era, this is what you don't do, and that would be. There's a certain consistency about Neville's point in that, but the flip side of that is when things have become so toxic, then. What else do you do?
What else can you do? But there is a bigger problem, Kevin.
No, I'm going to say. I just want to say on the back of that, were you not getting the impression with what Gary Neville was saying? It was almost as if, look, I could do a job at board level. I could do a job as that. No, I'm being serious.
They're going to take over eventually, Kev. I think the class of '92 are eventually. That's the dream, surely.
Dan, that's the way that I was reading it. It was almost as if, to me, look, I can go in maybe as a director of football. Certainly, someone that's going to go in and help with that sort of. Mediation between, or certainly the intermediary between the board and the manager. That's someone that's going to go in and give you that sort of bounce regarding players' recruitment and all these sort of things. That's the way that I.
Would that be such a bad thing? Would that be such a bad thing if United have lost their soul? If they are all about tyre partners in Malaysia and noodle partners in Singapore, and the whole being left behind in terms of a structure of a football club by Man City, etc., etc. Do they not need somebody like that? Okay, rubbish manager, Gary Neville, and but in terms of
Tommy, that's harsh. That's harsh, isn't it? Very harsh.
Well,
Tommy, honestly, you're a harsh man today.
The proof was in the pudding, and he admitted himself. But in all seriousness, somebody with an intelligent guy who understands the club and and has been in the game and would perhaps help put a little bit of that soul back.
It's very interesting though. Neville as well says that the money he's thrown at Salford isn't exactly consistent with this beautiful romantic view of where football should be, and that's at Salford.
That's horrendous, yeah.
Top of the league though. Adam Rooney scored. I think he scored 2 today again.
5-6 grand a week in the conference. What a romantic story that is.
Do you know what I mean though?
Well, I know. I think just on this individual point, Kevin, would it be so stupid of Manchester United to say, right, Ed Woodward's getting hammered every time the manager gets sacked because people keep going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing in football. Yeah. Does he need to appoint somebody who A, has knowledge and context within the game, and B, understands United and actually start running the football? It may not be Gary Neville, but just that point that they need to appoint somebody like that.
Yeah, no, I take your point, and I'd probably be in agreement with it. I think there was that rumour that was circulating recently of Ed Woodward addressing the board, talking about the social media reach and how many followers they have, and they have way more followers than the New York Yankees and the New York Giants and all this sort of thing. He was referencing this type of thing, that United's reach is far greater than any other sports organisation, and it might be someone that you put in there that's always going to. Like, I tell you what, if we start to win football matches and we start to win trophies, the rest will take care of itself as it is. And yeah, I'm probably with you on that. I'd be old-fashioned in that regard, where it's about getting everything right for the actual playing staff day to day. Get the team right for when they're going to go onto the pitch, and everything else will take care of it. Man United as an organisation, I think it's fairly sound. I think that's safe to say. But on the pitch is where they've been seriously struggling. And
we'll be getting team news ahead of that game at Old Trafford in the next hour or so. It kicks off in just under an hour's time. We will be turning attention a little bit ahead to tomorrow shortly. Just competition time. First of all, though, calling all students, we've teamed up with Vodafone X to fuel your passion for sport by giving you the chance to join the Off the Ball team for a week. Yes, you can hang out with Kevin Kilbane and his fancy mugs. You'll get to see what happens behind the scenes of a show, attend a press conference, help report at a match, and even feature as a co-host of a show. If that wasn't enough, you'd also receive an iPhone 8 with a year's subscription to Vodafone X Sport, giving you access to 7 dedicated Sky Sports channels. To be in with a chance to win, submit your demo tape and details to offtheball.com/Vodafone X. Right, have to take a quick break now. More from the 3 o'clock games, and we'll look ahead to Man City Liverpool after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
News Talk brought home gold at the 2018 IMRO Radio Awards, winning in 6 categories. Best Specialist Speech Programme, Future Proof. Best Sports Broadcaster, Joe Malloy. Best Speech Broadcaster, Sean Moncrief. Best Newcomer, Tommy Walsh. Best Innovation, Future Proof. And Best Current Affairs Programme, The Pat Kenny Show. This is IMRO award-winning radio. This is News Talk.
It's autumn, which means it's time to change your wardrobe. It's time to visit Kildare Village, where there's hundreds of new arrivals every week. It's time to find that fabulous investment piece, something iconic from all your favourite designer brands, all with up to 60% off at Kildare Village. It's autumn. Take exit 13 off the M7 for your style, your way. New arrivals for autumn at Kildare Village, where there's something extraordinary every day.
The Cure. The Cure are coming to Dublin. 40 years of hits and more. Malahide Castle, Saturday, June 8th. Tickets $69.50 on sale this Wednesday at 9 a.m. Additional charges may apply. Subject to license. The Cure, live. Tickets on sale this Wednesday.
In Ireland, especially at this time of year, you have to be prepared for bad weather, and so does your car. So check it into your local garage now for its seasonal service. Then keep making your own checks throughout the winter. Is your antifreeze and screen wash topped up? Do your wipers need replacing? How's your tyre pressure and thread depth? Are all your lights working? Find out how to keep you and your car motoring safely right through to spring at rsa.ie.
Hi, I'm Mark Kavanagh, SuperValue store owner. All things considered, SuperValue is the only place you need to shop this week with offers like SuperValue fresh cod fillets half price, Pampers Essential Pack range, buy one get one free, and buy any 6 bottles of Critics' Choice wine for €50. All things considered, it's SuperValue. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Android all the way? It's gotta be Samsung Galaxy. Save up to €250 on Samsung exclusives at Carphone Warehouse. The S8 is absolutely free and the amazing S9 is just $99.99. Both on a €40 a month plan when you switch to Ireland's #1 network, Vodafone, but only with Carphone Warehouse. You won't find these Samsung exclusives at the network stores. Yeah, we know, we're special. Any network, any phone, any plan. Only Carphone Warehouse. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to a 24-month contract.
Enjoy your independent time this Saturday. The Great Indoors. Dermot Gavin explains why the new gardening is done indoors and gives his step-by-step guide to creating a mini cactus garden in Weekend magazine. Plus, don't miss simple recipes from Yotan Ottolenghi and our Reader Travel Awards. Prodigal Son. In sport, as Joey Carberry returns, Alan Quinlan and Tony Ward assess the Leinster and Munster Derby. And our Roald Dahl free book collection continues at Tesco. Irish Independent on Saturday. Take a fresh look.
Woodies are celebrating 30 years of homemaking with some devilish deals for the season ahead. Like 50% off all Halloween costumes and decorations, so you can go twice as scary. 3 for 2 on all Dulux interior paint, selected laminate flooring, half price, and all flat pack furniture, bar stools, saucepans and baking tins, slashed to half price. Woodies, we're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Maeve, and for my audition, I'll be singing Light of My Life. The minute you walked into my life, something felt, I can't remember the words.
Oh, did Maeve's brain do a forget? Happens to the best of us. That's why the free M50 video count from eFlow pays your toll automatically. So you've enough to be forgetting. Perfect for occasional M50 users. Sign up at eflow.ie.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Oxlade-Chamberlain brings it to the edge here, gets a shot. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain puts Liverpool in front, and Anfield has come alive. Walker spreads it out to this left-hand side, straight onto the chest of Leroy Sané, skips away from Gomez. Sané into the area, onto his left foot, gets the shot, and scores a wonderful goal for Manchester City. Leroy Sané beats Karius at the near post. Still Roberto Firmino chips it over Ederson, off the post and into the back of the net. What a goal from Roberto Firmino! Pure class from the Brazilian, and Liverpool lead once again. It's a 3-on-1. Mane on the edge of the area, smashes it into the top corner, and Liverpool lead by 3 goals to 1. Salah just can't get it to him. Ederson knows out a goal. He's played it straight to Mo Salah from 40 yards out. Mo Salah over the head of Ederson, and Liverpool lead by 4 goals to 1. Gundy on inside the area, falls for Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva scores for Manchester City. Maybe we're not done just yet. Sané gets away from one challenge, brings it to the edge of the area. Aguero's 4 red jerseys in front of him, chips it across there towards Gundogan, who controls it and who scores. It's 4-3.
Yeah, that epic game between Manchester City and Liverpool earlier on in 2018, that was 4-3. Liverpool have the Indian sign over Manchester City last season in the Champions League and in that league game. That will be the live commentary game on Off the Ball tomorrow. Nathan Murphy will be bringing you commentary from that one. There has been a goal at the King Power Stadium, though, to tell you about before we get into chatting and looking ahead to that game. It was Leicester 1, Everton 1, and Leicester had Wes Morgan sent off, and Shane Pennington can tell us who scored now.
It's Leicester 1, Everton 2, and what a goal from Gylfi Sigurdsson. He's picked up the ball in the central area, 25 yards out, a lovely turn with his back heel to get past James Maddison, and then he's unleashed a rocket of a shot that flew past Kasper Schmeichel and into the left-hand top corner of the net. It really is a fantastic goal, and it's Leicester 1, Everton 2.
Absolutely cracking goal from Sigurdsson. 4 goals in his last 4 Premier League games for him. Right, let's get some team news from Old Trafford now. Man United taking on Newcastle at 5:30. Here's Roger Thames. Do we have you there, Roger? No, we lost Roger. By the way, Manchester United have arrived on time. Their bus did arrive on time today after what happened in midweek. Right, tell you what, let's chat about Man City, Liverpool as we come towards the end of the 3 o'clock kickoffs today. Obviously, massive game. And Leon Blanche, this chat brought to us by Boy Sports. Leon Blanche from Boy Sports is on the line. Liverpool beating City in the Champions League. Jurgen Klopp with a really good record against Guardiola in their respective managerial careers. What are the betting markets saying about the game tomorrow?
Yeah, look, Tommy, it's a very, very close game. I suppose Liverpool are going into this game in a bit of a no win in 3. They obviously got beat by Chelsea in the League Cup. They were terrible against Napoli in the Champions League, and they were decent in the second half away against Chelsea in the league. But this is the perfect game to get yourself right up for it after losing your first game of the season. They're only slight favourites at 6-4. Man City 7-4, and the draw here at 5-2. Look, I think they're the best 2 teams in the Premier League at the moment. They both have goals everywhere on their sides, and I think both teams will score tomorrow. And that's actually an offtheball.com/Boyle Sports special. It's a 1-2 chance, but we're pushing it out to 6-4. I think with Klopp at the moment, Salah, obviously, the heights he hit last season, Tommy, he was never going to repeat them this year. But he's still getting into the right positions. Yes, he is probably missing more chances than what we're used to seeing from him. But I think Firmino and Mane have got to chip in a little bit more. Mane started the season very well, but he's gone off the boil a little bit at the moment. Now, you do look at Daniel Sturridge coming off the bench, scored that wonder goal against Chelsea, scored when he got his chance in the Champions League. Shaqiri is another option. But then you look at Man City. Aguero is on fire. Raheem Sterling, who's never played well against Liverpool, anytime he's gone back to Anfield, maybe tomorrow will be the first time he'll actually step up to the plate. It's an intriguing game, Tommy, a very hard one to call, but I definitely do see both sides scoring. Intriguing game at 5:30 at Old Trafford as well. Let's get the team news between Manchester United and Liverpool from Roger Thames now.
Yes, I'm here now. It goes better when it's plugged in, doesn't it?
Exactly.
interesting team selections. José Mourinho, just the 2 changes. If you go back to the team that lost at West Ham, 8 of this lineup did feature against Valencia. The changes are Eric Bailly comes into central defence, Lindelof missing out. Marcus Rashford joins the attack. Fellaini is left on the bench. Scott McTominay stays in the team, but pushes forward into a rather more familiar midfield role after that controversial appearance at West Ham when he operated in the centre of a back 3. 8 of this team, as I said, started against Valencia. 3 changes, though, by Rafa Benitez. He'll be pleased to have Federico Fernandez returning at centre-back. He's brought in Javier Manquillo at left-back, and Kennedy, who filled in there last week in the 2-0 home defeat to Leicester, can push forward into midfield. But the real interest is up front, where he gives a first start to Yoshinori Muto, who's been limited to appearances from the bench so far. Newcastle so lacking in goal-scoring punch. Maybe the Japanese attacker is the man to end their very poor return in terms of goals, only 4 so far this season. Intriguing game, no doubt. Both managers in very different circumstances, desperate for a win here today at Old Trafford.
Anna, has there been any talk in the grapevine around the press box about the conflicting reports regarding José Mourinho's future, or lack of it, over the last 24 hours or so, Roger?
Well, I think most of the press box is getting fairly accustomed to this sort of speculation. I did, however, hear the reporter in question from the Mirror newspaper speaking live on radio, totally standing by his story that José Mourinho was due to lose his job after this game. Not so much talking about 8 o'clock tonight, but certainly in the next few days. He'd make the interesting point that Manchester United have let news of their managerial changes leak in the past, but they also like to have a successor lined up and try and wrap up the whole problem in one swoop. But they are today, the club, standing by their manager, but 1 or 2 of us have heard that in football before.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us from Old Trafford there. The plot thickens, doesn't it? Manchester United, Newcastle, the 5:30 kickoff. Kevin, let's get on to Man City, Liverpool tomorrow. Is it just a game for the purists, unless you're a partisan in it, that you sit back and enjoy? And we're just going to see what we saw in the league and the Champions League last season. Just an absolute feast and a real intense, exciting game of football.
Yeah, I think it'll be exactly the same. Liverpool were poor against Napoli midweek, but look back to them last week against Chelsea. That was the game of the season so far in my eyes. It was such a good game to watch. Brilliant finish as well from Sturridge as well, just to cap the game off. So yeah, I'm with you. I think it will be open and attacking football. I think Guardiola said that this week, that him and Klopp don't do anything. They don't park the bus. They're both managers that like to go and win the game. So I think we'll see a better Liverpool than we saw midweek. I actually think we'll probably see a better Man City team performance than we saw midweek. Both up for it. I'm going to swing to Liverpool. I think Liverpool just have the edge over City, certainly in 2018 with the 3 wins that they've had against them already. So I'll just go for Liverpool this one. I think Liverpool will win it.
Coming up to full time in the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Burnley 1, Huddersfield 1, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1, Leicester 1, Everton 2 there. Spurs still 1-0 up over Cardiff, despite Cardiff having a man sent off. Eric Dyer with an early goal there. And Watford 0, Bournemouth 4. That result would move Bournemouth up to 5th in the table. Spurs will go 3rd ahead of Chelsea, who play Southampton tomorrow. But Liverpool fans might be a bit worried, though, about they look at that run of results, start of the season, 6 wins in a row, and it looks brilliant, and then suddenly it's loss, draw, loss, and you're kind of suddenly for the first time this season, questions about Klopp and tactically and where they are and the front 3, and lots of little issues to address from that game the other night.
Definitely, Tommy. Yeah, the I wouldn't say the wheels have come off, but certainly the party is over at this stage in terms of the last 3 games. The Chelsea game in the Carabao Cup, you could kind of park that and say that was grand. The Chelsea game in the league, I think you could say that Liverpool generally play quite well because, to my mind, they're kind of playing with 10 men at the moment, and Salah, he's just completely out of sorts. So they didn't play badly in that. They deserved a draw, despite the fact that Hazard should have scored a second goal. They had enough chances. Shaqiri should have scored. That wasn't too bad either. The Napoli game was worrying. They were very, very poor. They had no shot on target. And I certainly got the feeling that Salah's troubles were now finally affecting the players around him, because it was like as if everything he tried, it couldn't have gone worse for him. I thought he was so poor. I thought he even looks a little bit, slightly not as quick as he was maybe last season, but mentally he clearly, he has to be feeling it at this stage. It was a shocking bad performance, and I genuinely believe that Klopp has to drop him tomorrow. I can't see Liverpool win that game.
He's not going to drop him. It's not.
He absolutely should. No. Absolutely should.
This is.
He absolutely should.
Isn't this a big question though? How he manages this, Kevin? In terms of he's the bet. He's a star player. He's having a little bump in confidence. But if you don't drop him, do you send out the message that he's untouchable, and that has a contagious effect on the rest of the squad? How do you see it?
He's not undroppable, of course he's not, and he has been substituted. But his record, I think it was, I was looking at it, since December 30th, he scored 20 goals in 16 home games. His record at home is outstanding. 3 home goals already this season as well. I don't think he'll be dropped. I think he's the sort of player that needs to be playing in this game. I don't think he needs to be dropped personally. I really don't. Johnny spoke about Mane. I think it was Leon actually spoke about Mane earlier on. Mane started this last season very, very poorly, and he stuck with him, and then you started to get the best out of him post-Christmas. So realistically, I don't think he's going to be dropped. I think that is your front three. That is what he's going to go with. And I think it's about time you stick with him. He's not. If you look at his career as well, look at it. Last season was almost like you look at it as an isolated season because he never reached those highs. He never got to. I think it was 19 goals was his best season that he'd had. So last season was a bit of a freak season for him in that respect. So I don't necessarily see he's going to be dropped. I think Klopp has done it continuously with other players. He sticks with his men, and I think he'll do the same. No chance. I think if he drops him, I think it gives a negative. It
kind of precipitates
sort of
a sense of crisis around the whole thing. So is it about Klopp managing the expectations around Salah in saying, as Kevin says, like he's not going to score 44 goals every season, or is it a case that he manages the situation and eventually he clicks back into being that striker that he was last season?
Yeah, but I also think the point is like that Liverpool front three are like. They're a key part of how they play. You know, I mean, they are a unit. I know there's individual brilliance. I mean, Salah got a lot of the plaudits, but they are like a three. They complement each other. Firmino and Mane, you know, what they bring to the party allow Salah to shine, and sort of vice versa. So, I mean, I just don't think I couldn't countenance him being dropped for that reason alone, rather as well as just the actual sort of talismanic quality that Salah has. But it is a tough one if he's struggling over a period of games, because you do have to. It's not just a like for like swap that you're talking about there. You're talking about a bit of restructuring, you know, and that's a real problem. So I don't think he's going to do it for this particular game. But I think generally they look disjointed against Napoli, which is unusual.
No,
you know?
I think that's Johnny Warden in a nutshell there, isn't it? He's clickbait, isn't he? He's looking for the big headline. They're dropping, get rid of him. Yeah, exactly.
Kev, since the start of the World Cup, right, including his performances for his country, so we're talking 10 odd games. What has Salah actually done in those 10 games? And first of all, 2 other points, right? For the amazingly good goal, admittedly, that Hazard got, Salah just stopped at the halfway line instead of actually tracking him, which was his duty in that particular moment. And secondly, the 2 misses he had against Chelsea, one of them he was a tame shot, then the second one he ballooned it over. The third occasion when he got into the box, he had a simple ball for Firmino, which he totally overplayed, right? So he's not functioning in that attack at all at the moment. His passing is wrong. He's making the wrong choices. He's completely imploded in terms of his performances last season. That's why I think the other players now have lost faith at the moment in what Salah will do, and that's why he's bringing down the whole team. And the Napoli performance was very, very bad.
I can't see him bring down you make a good point. Of course, he's not at it. He's way off the level he was, and it's not just the goal scoring. It's open play and what he was creating for others, movement off the ball. He's just low on confidence. That's the only way that you can describe it. I certainly don't think after 10 games of the season, Johnny, he's got 3 goals. So, and I said before, at home at Anfield, his record is outstanding. So he's certainly not going to drop him for a home game. That's the way that I would see it. Yeah. And I think it just sends out a little bit of a negative message to the rest of the squad that look, you have a bit of a bad spell. You're going to be taken out on my side.
Well, he's played.
Before we let you go, lads, I just want to get so generally ahead of that. In terms of how much do you take out of that performance in Napoli the other day? Because we did it on Virgin Sport on Wednesday night, and Napoli were brilliant. They outworked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the view of both Graham Souness and Mick McCarthy, that they just absolutely outworked Liverpool, that they could play as well. Tactically, that Ancelotti got it right and Klopp didn't respond. Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, was absolutely like pinned back by the Napoli left back Rui, who had you know, ample crosses in. The goal came down the right, but you know, there's so many chances. I think they hit the bar from a move that started down the left, and Liverpool never seemed to respond. I don't know if that's what Johnny says because of dysfunction further up the field. But I mean, if Liverpool aren't completely at themselves and they play like that tomorrow, surely it'll be closer to the 5-0 last season for City than the 4-3 or the Champions League games.
Yeah, but City weren't great midweek as well, though, Tommy Worthy and Hoffenheim. So I think you've got to look at it like that. Both sides have had a couple of indifferent performances this season. So if you look at it like that. But imagine that, though, Tommy, if you look at it a different way, right, you'd be asking different questions. I think Liverpool were very poor midweek, and I take that. It was a late goal that they conceded that cost them. If Liverpool get a draw in Napoli and you go, tell you what, you're finding a different way to win games or get points from games. This is not Jurgen Klopp's way. Does that show a different side of them? And you'd be going, yeah, that's a good thing from Klopp's point of view.
But they were poor. They were poor.
No, they were poor. No, I know, and I take that. But how many times have you asked that question? A side that's been poor and yet they've got a result. That's my only point. Yes, they were poor. It wasn't that's isolated across this season. I thought they were very good against Chelsea last week. I really did. I thought they were very good. And look at the first 4 or 5 games this season in the Champions. Look at that PSG performance. Outstanding. So we're looking at 3 games where they've not quite been at it. I don't buy it. You can actually start to question Liverpool as a team and start to question Salah with the way that he started this season and question the side in general, just because you've had 3 unsteady performances or not so certain performances. I think,
Kevin, you absolutely have to question Salah, though, because he wasn't right in the World Cup, for one thing. Physically, he certainly wasn't fully there. Mentally, we're not sure where he was with all that stuff that was going on. You have to question him. You know, we can't assume at all that he's going to be the player he was last season. But this is one of the biggest challenges for Klopp since he took the job, is what does he do? How does he deal with the Salah situation at the moment? Because it's not.
But he had it last year with Mane. John, that was my point. He had it last season with Mane. Mane was really poor at the start of last season. You're watching him in games, he was sulking. You remember when Klopp had to go onto the pitch at one stage last season, put his arm around him. I think even threw his shirt down when he was off the pitch, when he was substituted in one of the games. So managers are going to get these type of situations. It's how a manager deals with that internally. I'm sure the message internally for Salah is just continue what you're doing, you're fine, there's no dramas at all. Yet he's been constantly asking questions about his form. That's good management in my eyes. I think teammates like Jordan Henderson, James Milner will be talking to him. He'll know himself he's not quite been at it. So honestly, I don't see it being a massive thing. Unless we get to the end of November into December and this form continues, that's when I'd be looking at it over a 20-game period or whatever it would be.
We have to wrap
He's
this
the type of player
We have to wrap this up now. Kevin, you're off to Fulham Arsenal tomorrow. It's Nathan Murphy and Brian Kerr on commentary for Man City Liverpool. Before that at 2:15 it's Southampton Chelsea and that's Dave McIntyre and Gary Breen at that one. Give us a quick, literally 3-word prediction. Kevin, you go first.
On Liverpool,
Man City Liverpool.
Yeah, I think Liverpool will win. Liverpool will win. Both teams will score in the match. That's the way I see this. I think it's an outstanding game. I think it'll be attacking.
That's way more than 3
Kev.
We'll get pretty much the same as we got last season. Liverpool to win 3-2.
In a belter of a game, Dan.
Man City to win. That's 4 words.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the away win, yeah.
Johnny?
If Salah starts, Man City to win. If Salah doesn't start, I think Liverpool have a very solid chance. I fancy Man City.
Johnny, you're taking yourself far too seriously today. That's all
if Salah starts, Liverpool to get relegated, according to... And Leon,
they're effectively playing 10
final word to you, Leon, on this Boyle Sports Football hour.
I honestly don't know what Johnny has gone on about Salah for. 3 goals in the league, 2 at the World Cup. I think he's got 2 assists. They've only played 7 games, Johnny. Give him a chance.
He's been given 10 chances.
Liverpool will win. And I think the bench, just looking at it, Liverpool now, Sturridge, he's up for it. Sturridge can't play 90 minutes, so he's not going to start. But Shaqiri is a guy who I think, if Salah's not doing what Johnny wants him to do, maybe Shaqiri is the man to come in.
That is a lot more than 4. That's 4 by 4. 16 words I was asking for there, but it was great stuff nonetheless. Thanks to Leon for joining us on the line from Vegas, baby. Kevin for joining us on the line from... wherever Kevin lives, baby. I'm not going to give that away. And Dan and Johnny, who made the effort to join us in studio. I'm sure we're going to go home and get rested before getting up to watch Conor McGregor.
Are you going to watch Conor McGregor?
I will watch it via recorded means.
No. The no is the short answer.
I can't be getting up at that time. I've done my breakfast TV days. Right, I tell you what, we're going to go to Az now. Before we do, let's take a matched full-time report from probably, without doubt, the performance of the day, and that was by Bournemouth at Vicarage Road. Here's Nigel Bidmead.
Watford 0, Bournemouth 4. 10-man Watford were taken to the cleaners by Bournemouth. King put the visitors ahead on 14 before Cavaselli conceded a penalty and was sent off. King picked himself up to score from the spot. Just before the break, a disorganised Watford defence allowed King to head home a third, and straight after the restart, Callum Wilson controlled a Ryan Fraser cross before slamming it into an unguarded net. Watford 0, Bournemouth 4.
An Irish goal scorer at Selhurst Park in the game between Crystal Palace and Wolves. Here's Mike Lawrence.
Crystal Palace 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. Wolves' great start to life in the top flight continues, with Matt Doherty's goal on 56 minutes giving them another 3 points as Palace drew a blank at home again. Palace coped better with the poor conditions early on. Jeffrey Schlupp with their best chance early on before the visitors grew in confidence. Raul Jimenez carving out their best 2 chances before the break. Despite responding well, Palace failed to find an equaliser. Wolves keeper Rui Patricio with a fine double save. It finished Crystal Palace 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
Yeah, great to see Matt Doherty on the score sheet there. An Irish goal scorer, by the way, in the Championship, and very positively it was Sean Maguire in his return from injury for Preston in a 3-0. He didn't score. He came off the bench, so he made his return for Preston today, which is also positive news, even if he didn't score. Tottenham were able to move up to third if they won today at Wembley against Cardiff. Here's a full-time report from Andrew Cheal.
Tottenham 1, Cardiff 0. Eric Dyer's goal on just 9 minutes settles it. Spurs created plenty of other chances but lacked the finishing touch. Moura guilty of 2 particularly wasteful misses. Cardiff showed plenty of courage and were arguably unlucky when Joe Rawls got a straight red for a cynical tackle, but there were 2 covering defenders. Cardiff's skipper Morrison brilliantly cleared Moura's shot off the line and later saw his own header palmed onto the post by Lloris. Plenty of action. It finished Spurs 1, Cardiff 0.
Cracking game at the King Power between Leicester and Everton. It was 8th against 11th. Leicester in 8th, Everton in 11th. How did it finish? Shane Pennington.
It's finished Leicester 1, Everton 2, and Everton finally get their first away league win of the season, only of course after Gylfi Sigurdsson scored a wonder goal late on in this game. They took the lead after 8 minutes when Richarlison volleyed home Bernard's cross before Leicester equalised through Ricardo Pereira. He took on 3 Everton defenders before firing past Pickford. But then a red card for Wes Morgan for a second bookable offence, a late challenge of Richarlison before Sigurdsson hit the winner 13 minutes before the end, turning Maddison 25 yards out and unleashing a vicious shot that flew into the top corner. Leicester 1, Everton 2.
And Everton up to 10th in the table, level on points with Leicester, who dropped down to 9th. Final full-time report from Turf Moor. After turning around their dreadful start to the season with 2 wins on the trot, Burnley were looking to make it 3 in a row against a rock-bottom Huddersfield. Here's Adam Jury with the full-time report.
A goal apiece ensured the spoils were shared here at Turf Moor. Burnley took the lead in the 20th minute when Sam Vokes headed home a Johan Berg Goodmanson cross from inside the box. From then the Clarets sat back as Huddersfield dominated possession while struggling to create chances. Then in the 66th minute, with his side's first shot on target, Christopher Schindler flicked on a Kristoff cross with his head. It went into the back of the net to end the Terriers' 3-game losing run. Full time at Turf Moor, it finished Burnley 1, Huddersfield 1.
Yeah, and that's only Huddersfield's 4th goal of the season, moves them up to 18th off the bottom of the table onto 3 points. And Burnley's win, they're up to 12th in the table now. Remarkable turnaround from them after losing 4 games on the trot before they won 2 games in a row heading into that one today. Right, competition time now. Next week we're celebrating the return of the Heineken Champions Cup with a very special show live from University Concert Hall, Limerick on Thursday. That's the 11th of October in association with Heineken Rugby Club. It's a sit-down with one of Munster, Ireland and now Canterbury Crusaders' favourite sons, Ronan O'Gara. He'll be alongside Brian O'Driscoll, Keith Wood and Nathan Murphy. Yes, 3 legends there. It's now fully sold out, but we do have a couple of VIP tickets to give away today. You get the best seats in the house and a meet and greet with Ronan, Keith and Brian and Nathan. We asked you earlier, in which English city will the 2018-19 Champions Cup final be held? The answer is Newcastle. And congratulations to Aidan Grace in Limerick, who's won a pair of VIP tickets to the roadshow. He can toddle along to his local university concert hall there. And that includes a meet and greet, as I mentioned, with Ronan, Keith and Brian. And you'll have another chance to win VIP tickets during tomorrow's show. Right, time for a quick break now. After this, we look ahead to Manchester United, Newcastle. Team news from that one. All the full-time details from our 3 o'clock kickoffs. And all the rest of the results and around the world of sport as well. And we'll also be looking ahead to Munster-Leinster at the Aviva Stadium and McGregor, Khabib. Whew.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
Listen back to your favourite News Talk shows at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
It's time to party, have fun and save big at Harvey Norman. We're celebrating 15 years in Ireland and 15 years of great value and service with a 15th birthday sale. Get the Akai 65-inch 4K TV for just €749, saving you €250. Or get 15% off the Smeg 8kg heat pump tumble dryer, now €466. With so much more to enjoy and explore in store. Celebrate and save with us today. The Harvey Norman 15th birthday sale, now on.
Go! Better luck next time, Brian. Funny old game, golf. Now, you got off to a cracking start, by the way.
Here's the question. Did Brian really lose? You see, last week he switched his car insurance to AIG Golfer and got a really great deal.
Pity, because you're putting.
AIG sponsor the GUI and ILGU and have great prices and discounts for golfers.
The hazard on the 9th is usually my
So, maybe some extra bunker lessons from the pro with those savings, Brian. Thanks, AIG.
For quote, visit aig.ie/golf. Terms and conditions apply. AIG Europe Limited is authorised